Hey and welcome everyone. I really hope you're doing well. So I've decided to start a travel series on this channel, more specifically a UK-based kind of nature-focused travel series, because recently we've been on quite a lot of very fun and adventurous trips in different bits of the UK, and I'd really like to share my favorite parts with you guys. The first one I'd like to take you on is our wild camping trip in Dartmoor. And you might know that Dartmoor is known for its many myths and quite dark fairy tales full of pixies and ghosts and witchcraft. And I feel like after just a few days spent in Dartmoor, I began to understand why it's considered to be so mysterious and dark. There's loads of weird, very ancient stone formations up on hills, and we had quite a few very foggy mornings. And we also went to this bit of ancient, very mossy oak woodlands, and it was by far one of the most magical places I've ever been. I really felt like you can almost feel the old tree spirits. It's kind of hard to explain, but I'm really excited to share that with you as well, because that was truly special. So without further ado, I would say let's just start, and I'll show you everything we've been up to and hope that you'll feel inspired to maybe explore some of it yourself. So my partner, two of our best friends and I met up in Dartmoor. On the first day we decided to hike to the beautiful tumbling East Dart River and looked for a place to set up camp. We started to cook some dinner, and then we were joined by two gorgeous Dartmoor ponies and their little foals. For centuries the moors have been home to these semi-feral ponies. Semi-feral in this case means that they belong to a few very hardy domesticated breeds, but they roam freely. They find their own water sources, and in harsh winter weather they have to look for shelter somewhere out on the moors. The next morning we looked for a spot in the river to have a swim, or rather to have a quick dip, because the water was pretty damn freezing. But on the upside, that meant that it was super refreshing and energizing, and honestly it kind of felt like the perfect way to start our day after a night in the tent. It quickly turned into a pretty rainy and foggy morning, which you'll see was a bit of a theme on our little camping trip. Normally you can just find clean drinking water that has filtered through the peat, but because of the heavy rain, we saw that the water was running over the surface through sheep and cow pastures. So to be safe, we decided to use chlorine tablets to sterilize the water. Next, we went on to explore Mis Tor. Dartmoor is famous for its many tors. They're basically granite rock formations that top lots of the hills. They kinda look quite a lot like imposing human-made monuments, but really they're completely natural. They're made of hard rock left behind after millions of years of erosion have worn away everything else. And then right next to the Tor, we found a small Tupperware box just tucked under a rock. Letterboxing is an outdoor hobby that was invented in Dartmoor. I think it was in the 1850s. People hide small waterproof boxes with a notebook and a rubber stamp, and then they leave clues about how to find them in catalogues and nowadays also on the internet. The notebook that we found was full of handwritten notes by people who found it before us. Later, when the sun started to set, we were on the lookout for another camping spot. We found one just beneath the next Tor, with a beautiful view and also fairly sheltered from the wind. The next morning brought a thick layer of fog rolling over the hills that made it impossible to see even the huge Tor right behind our tents. It was pretty cold and rainy, so I decided to make loads of hot coffee, because we all know that that makes everything better. When the weather got a little bit better, we went on to visit the Merrivale prehistoric settlements. The remains of these settlements are from the Neolithic to the Middle Bronze Age, which would be about 2500 to 1000 BC. Very, very old. And you can still see a group of round houses, stone rows, a stone circle, and also 2 standing stones. And many of them used to be ritual monuments. And I just love to imagine what kind of ceremonies people used to hold in this place. Because Merrivale used to be a very spiritually important place to people in the area. And then we were heading to my favorite part of our trip, Black-A-Tor Copse, the magical ancient oak woodlands. We walked along a lake and crossed quite a few different bridges and also saw plenty of waterfalls. To be honest, the walk itself is well worth the journey. Dartmoor would naturally have a lot more native woodland than it does now. In fact, most of it would be covered in trees. But deforestation and overgrazing means Black-A-Tor is one of the last tiny specks remaining. You might think that it would be an impossible task to bring nature back, but really, when you take away the grazing animals, areas naturally start to recover and bounce back, and scrubs and trees start growing again. And there are really great Dartmoor-based rewilding projects. I'm gonna link some of them in the description box if you're interested. But now back to beautiful Black-A-Tor Copse woodland. And to be honest, no photos or video footage could ever do it justice. But at least let me try. I really hope that you enjoyed this video, and as always, I will see you next time.